So I've been getting a lot of questions around Klook, so I want to make a quick video on it. I'm going to talk about my experiences as well as when you should use Klook, as well as when you shouldn't use Klook, and just my overall thoughts around it. Hopefully it gives you an understanding or some kind of idea if you want to use Klook, and hopefully this video helps you there. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe if you want content around Japan, and let's get straight to the video. Alright, so when is Klook good to use? Now, I recently booked our Fujiku tickets through Klook, no issues at all. And the reason why I actually booked Klook was because we couldn't actually book direct because they wouldn't accept our foreign credit cards. So that's the first reason is if you can't use a foreign credit card through the direct website, then sometimes booking for Klook is pretty good. Now, in my opinion, major attractions, big services like train station tickets, etc. Generally, Klook is pretty well recognized in those situations, and I think the infrastructure is a lot better now compared to 10 years ago. Generally, these days, you don't run into many issues. I haven't had many issues, especially if it's a big attraction like Universal Studios or Fujiku, for example. I just rocked up to the store, scanned my QR code, and got my tickets, even my passes. So generally, no issues there. To further continue on this point, if you have a fixed itinerary, this is where Klook is really good. You're able to find specific discounts and packages which might be cheaper, or just look for sales for specific items. So in this case, this Redditor managed to find a lot of discounts through booking all their attractions through Klook. So definitely Klook is a great platform if you're looking for specific specials or packaging things together. Summarize when to use Klook: major attractions / services, tours and packages where you can find discounts or even just general discounts in general, foreign credit card bouncing on main websites, as well as cashback offers. Overall, Klook is a lot better than what is compared to 5 years ago, where a lot of people might have the perception that it's unreliable. These days, it's pretty reliable in my opinion, which now leads me to when you shouldn't actually be using Klook. With Klook, seasonal / weather dependent type activities can be a bit of a struggle. Like many third-party websites, refunds can be sometimes hard to achieve. I've heard a mixed bag of results, some struggling to get refunds in unfortunate circumstances, some getting full refunds, and some just getting a Klook credit. With this in mind, it's probably best to avoid anything that might be chance of cancellations, or if you're uncertain with dates and you have to move them around. If you're unable to rebook, you might run into these issues. Now, in my opinion, this is the biggest problem with using Klook, because Klook pre-buys everything, so in order for them to refund it, they have to go back to the supplier, in which case they probably don't want to, so refunds are generally seldomly given. Another questionable area which I've heard from personally, this is something I haven't experienced, but Klook and airport transfers, especially in Japan. I've heard some pretty mixed bag stories, especially with the taxi driver not being able to speak English, etc. And as well as problems when you do have a late flight, it's really hard to connect with your driver because you're using a third party. So, in my opinion, just avoid airport transfers in general. Just use a taxi, just use Uber. Uber does work in Japan. Just mindful that taxis are pretty expensive in Japan, so you might want to actually look at public transport, which is actually very efficient in Japan. So, to summarize, if you are booking a major attraction, train tickets, etc., or something that's a major service, generally Klook is pretty good, especially if you're sticking to your dates. If you have something that is seasonal dependent, weather dependent, or you might need to change dates around, this is where Klook has issues with, especially because it's a third-party website. And finally, to add airport transfers, I've heard mixed bag results. Once again, if your flight's late, etc., you can't communicate with your driver, this is where problems can arise. So here, those are my summary thoughts. Take it as you will. Leave a comment below if you've run into any issues with Klook, or if you had no issues with Klook. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.